I'd like to welcome Superintendent Terry Gage to the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Pullman National Monument and State Historic Site. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate this important milestone. We have arrived, and what an amazing journey it has been. Yes, what an amazing journey it has been. One that began for many of us in 2015 when President Obama designated Pullman National Monument. For some of us, however, it's been a much longer journey to get to this point where we're officially dedicating and opening this beautiful visitor center and historic factory grounds. Today, you will hear from some of our partners and representatives on this stage who've worked tirelessly on this effort. But I also want to recognize some of the people and organizations who also played a critical role on this journey and who are here to celebrate with us in the audience. The historic Pullman Foundation, represented today by President Joe Szabo and Executive Director Julian Jackson, has been working They have been working for decades to preserve and protect Pullman. The Pullman Civic Organization, led by President Rachel Smith, is a grassroots community group formed in the 1960s to save Pullman from industrial development and now works to preserve and promote the significance of the area. Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, led by President David Doig, has been working for years to promote economic growth and improve housing here in Pullman. The National Park Conservation Association, represented today by Lynn McClure and Sondra Washington, led the early planning efforts for Pullman and played a significant role in the 2015 designation. Metra, represented by Chairwoman Romaine Brown, is making major investments to improve the rider experience and accessibility at Pullman. And Mike and Pat Szymanski, who for over a half a century have championed the cause of historic preservation and have already been telling the Pullman story to multiple generations of visitors. I would also like to give a shout out to Amtrak, Metra, and the American Association of Private Car Rail Owners, who brought historic Pullman rail cars back to Pullman this past weekend for the grand opening celebration. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I would like to thank the hardworking group of National Park Service employees, many volunteers who worked so hard the past few days to make our grand opening celebration a success. And thank you to the incident management team, our regional director, Bert Frost, the team at the Historic Pullman Foundation, and our many partners who played a role in the grand opening event. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to welcome the elected officials here in the audience today. And I have to tell you, I'm afraid I'm gonna leave someone out, so I apologize in advance if I miss anyone. But I do want to recognize U.S. Congressman Chuy Garcia, Illinois Secretary of State Jesse White, Secretary of State House Chris Welch, State Senator L.G. Sims, State Representative Robin Gable, State Representative Marcus Evans, State Representative Nick Smith, Alderwoman Susan Garza, Ms. Toni Preckwinkle, President of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, and I also want to recognize she is an appointed official and not an elected official, but I can't let her go unrecognized because she's been so important to the partnership here at Pullman. But Ms. Colleen Callahan, Director of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Many thanks to you all for your efforts in helping us reach this important milestone so that we can welcome the public to this site once again and to these important American stories. To many people, Pullman, the man, the rail car, the company, the town, are all important American stories that need to be told. But there is more to this site and its history that deserves exploration. Historic events and people here had an indelible influence on the labor movement and on the fight for civil rights in America. The Pullman community has a long history of being resilient, determined never to forget nor be forgotten. The National Park Service now has a place to work with our partners to share these stories with our visitors, to keep this important history from being forgotten, or worse yet, never told. We are We are excited to continue this journey, not just by inspiring people from around the world, from other places to visit us, but also by connecting with our community and our local schools on their more personal journeys and connections to Pullman. We look forward to continuing this journey with you, our partners, the state of Illinois, and the community for generations to come. But we cannot do this on our own. This is a partnership park in every sense of the word, including the public and private funding that has been invested in the site. Much of that private funding coming from generous donations through the National Park Foundation, without whom we would not be at this point in the journey. And now I invite Will Shafroth, the president of the National Park Foundation, to share more about their work on behalf of Pullman National Monument.
Thank you, Terry. And folks, Terry arrived midstream in this process, and I know I speak for everybody in the National Park Service and everybody on stage. What an amazing job she's done to get us today. I am truly honored to be here with friends and partners and the Pullman community, many of whom were instrumental in getting us to where we are today. And that's really what I want to speak about in my few minutes, which is the power of the partnership between the National Park Service, the Chicago Neighborhood Initiative, the state of Illinois, the National Park Foundation, and many other partners that together delivered critical investment, expertise, and community engagement to make this project a success. For our part, the National Park Foundation answered the call made by then Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell, who asked us to commit to raise at least $10 million in private funds that were needed for the restoration of this building over here and the grounds around it. Donors stepped up immediately to meet the need. Chief among them was the Pritzker Traubert Foundation, which contributed nearly $5 million to this effort in the very early stages of its project. Penny and Brian, thank you for your leadership and your tremendous support of this place. Your support here at Pullman, I know, is but one example of how the Pritzker-Traubert Foundation is helping to revitalize neighborhoods and support economic development throughout the Chicago region. Thank you again. Other members of the National Park Foundation family, Ellen Alberding and Kelly Welsh, Brian O'Brien and Mary Hassan and Barbara Neal, also made critical donations and provided essential support to the Pullman project over the last 6 years. Thank you all for all you've done. And there are a number of other donors that helped us get to the $10.5 million number that we ultimately raised in private funds. They're all acknowledged on the donor wall when you walk in the building over there, and check them out and thank them if you see them. But the ones that I really want to mention right now are the Union Pacific Foundation and the Fund 2 Foundation, each of whom made $1 million commitment to this project. Again, this coming together today of a broad diversity of funders is testament to the power of our national parks and the generosity of so many who see them as places of awe and wonder, and places where we come together as a community and as a nation. They truly are our common ground as a people. What we celebrate today is a monumental commitment to community and to future generations. Thank you very much.
It is my honor to now introduce Dr. Lynn Hughes, founder of the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum. She and the executive director, David Peterson, have worked for more than 26 years to promote and elevate the stories of African Americans in the labor movement. Dr. Hughes?
Now, I get to do like the guys, take the mask off on the cool side. Thank you so much. This day is really, it's not the culmination, but it's the beginning. I say that because 26 years ago, when I founded the museum, the presence of African Americans in labor, shall we say, was not abundant. But thanks to the big guy upstairs, and friendship and collaboration and conversations and support from people across the spectrum, one of whom, after 20 years of work, showed himself in our space. He's a former director of the National Park Service, John Jarvis. He represents, to me, and even though he's retired, the epitome of integrity, sincerity. You could take what he says to the bank. He said to me, without an entourage in our space, Lynn, the National Park Service has every imaginable subject in their inventory, but what we don't have is Black labor history. What you have done here is magnificent, and you've done it on a shoestring. I applaud you, and I want to know if you will work with us. So I'm 20 years in the game, so I said, what does that mean? He said, I want you to be our partner. You're small, but you're very creative, and what you've done can lift us all up. We don't have money now, but we will have. And when we do, we're going to help you grow, because when you shine, we shine. I shook his hand. That was it. He left. I cried, of course, because it was the voice of sincerity and honesty. And so today, for me, represents the beginning of, shall we say, phase 2. Because what that means is now you've done all this marvelous work here, and now you can move to the north end of the monument so that we all can shine. The north end of the monument is 96% African American. And the goal is to have them, to make them feel like they're a part. And I want to say, I do not believe that that feeling would have manifested if it were not for Terry Gage. I just don't believe it would have happened. She is a different individual. She doesn't mind rolling up her sleeves, and she will walk the walk, not just lip service. I've seen her, I've observed her cautiously, and I'm convinced that she is the person who needs to be here at this time to open up sincere diversity and inclusion. She's working to make that happen. So any support in whatever your occupation, your realm, your work that you do, support her, because we need her and she needs us. I thank God for her. I thank all of the people who helped along the way, because this did not just happen. It was a collective over years. I came 25 years after Szymanski and his wife have done the work, but we put in the work. Because of the work that we've done, yes, I'm patting myself on the back, because of the work that we have done through the museum, we brought Showtime and Paramount Pictures. We brought Amtrak to take us across the country with our traveling exhibit, exposing this history of black labor across the country. And because of us, yes, because of us, there's a lot more people who know the history of A. Philip Randolph and the Pullman Porters, I am proud to say. And they said I had 2 minutes. I don't know if that's over or not, but but I thank you all. This is wonderful. It is indeed a good day. Thank you.
I swear I did not pay Dr. Hughes to say any of that. But thank you very much. That was very kind. I would like to introduce Alderman Tony Beal from the 9th Ward. We are fortunate to have the strong support of Alderman Beal in Pullman. He was a champion of the National Monuments designation and has been an advocate for adjacent city improvements, including lighting, sidewalk, new food services, bike sharing groups, and economic development that benefits both the area residents as well as park visitors. Alderman Beal.
Good morning. Good morning. That didn't sound right. Good morning. Good morning. It is another great day in the 9th Ward. And before I get started, let me just ask all the residents of the 9th Ward and the Pullman community, please stand and be recognized. Come on, community. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the true champions of today. Because in 1998, we had a little bit of a fire here that devastated our community. And that fire not only mobilized and organized this community more than you could ever know. And at the time, we were in the middle of a little bit of an automatic campaign. And on one side of the campaign, they were saying we need to demolish this structure and build a strip mall. And on the other side of the campaign, we said we need to preserve, protect, and promote history. Ladies and gentlemen, we're standing here today preserving, protecting, and promoting our history. So as a kid, riding my bike through Pullman, born and raised here, when I would ride my bike, I rode my bike because when I rode through Pullman, it seemed like I just went into a whole nother world. I didn't know about the history when I was growing up, but we're going to change that. We're going to make sure that every school in this area understands the history and the legacy of A. Philip Randolph and the Pullman Porters and Pullman as we move forward. And so as we move this train down the road, we have Speaker Welch here and we have the governor here and we have a few state reps and senators. I think we can call a quorum and pass some money because we're about 90 million short, Governor, if we can get $90 million more to finish this project. You all know I've never been shy about asking for money because we know in order to finish this edifice, we need 90 more million. And so we're asking for the state and the federal government to step up to the plate and give us $30 million for the next 3 years to get us to our goal. We've had over 8,000 tourists in this community in just the last 2 or 3 days. That is only the beginning. It is only the beginning of what we have to showcase here in the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and the United States of America. We want everybody to know what we have here in Pullman. And so Pullman residents, we're just getting started. We're just getting organized. We're just getting mobilized. So let's move forward and promote what we have as a gem in our community, and that is the Pullman National Monument. Thank you all so much, and God bless you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Robert Reiter, the president of the Chicago Federation of Labor.
Just first of all, I'll be another person here on the Terry Gage fan club, and also the assistant superintendent who is trying to point out to me, she thinks I put my mask on upside down. I grabbed the one CFL mask this morning that's actually sewn upside down. So, but these people are always looking out for you. And good morning, my name is Bob Reiter, and I am president of the Chicago Federation of Labor. The CFL represents 300 affiliate unions who in turn represent 500,000 working women and men in Chicago and Cook County. Isn't that cool? On behalf of union workers here in Chicago, happy Labor Day. And that's right. As I hope you've heard by now, the holiday of Labor Day has its roots right here. And I don't just mean right here in Chicago, literally right here in Pullman. We've all heard the story. Company owner George Pullman cut wages while maintaining high rents in the company town, squeezing workers until they could take no more. The workers went out and strike in 1894, paralyzing the national railway system, only to have the strike eventually crushed by the federal government. In an effort of reconciliation, President Grover Cleveland pushed through a holiday to remember and honor workers, Labor Day. But it's important to know that our campaign to have a Labor Day, not only here in Chicago, but across the world, had been going on for 20 or 30 years. So as workers celebrate Labor Day, whether it be the first Monday in September or May 1st, otherwise known as May Day, it's not because Grover Cleveland decided to make peace with us, it's because we had already been fighting for it. Because the labor movement fights on behalf of workers across this world every single day. And that is why, even in the birth of Labor Day, we can see the tension between honoring workers and taking actual concrete steps to support workers. That is why today, as we celebrate Labor Day in this beautiful monument to workers, we cannot overlook the steps we all must take to support these workers every single day. You see, Supporting workers means supporting elected leaders who will pass laws to raise the minimum wage, promote the freedom for workers to organize, and provide benefits like predictable schedules and paid sick leave. And I thank every single elected leader and every activist who's here today who's helped us do that, including the folks on this stage. You see, supporting workers means backing workers when they go on strike, like we've seen here recently in Chicago with the Teamsters, the auto mechanics, and the bakery workers at Nabisco. I urge everyone here to respect those picket lines. And respecting workers is not just platitudes, because talk is cheap, it's action on the street and living our values. And supporting workers means working for a fairer economy for everyone, where we start to close the gap between those at the top, like George Pullman, and those at the bottom, like the workers who went on strike. Because those workers who are on bottom, they may be on the bottom of the economic scale, but they're the ones who we lift to the top, because they're the ones who lift our communities. People like one of my personal heroes, and there's a section of the exhibit dedicated to him here at the Visitor Center. And Dr. Hughes talked about the museum in his honor just north of the National Monument, because one of my personal heroes was a radical trade unionist. We've got to make sure we don't sanitize the history of A. Philip Randolph, because A. Philip Randolph was not just a figure to be revered because he was a leader of the sleeping car porters. He was a guy that forced change, not only here in Chicago, but across the country, starting in New York. And he was not some friendly labor organizer. He was a disruptor and a person that we should all honor and remember and try to do a little disrupting ourselves. We at the CFL are celebrating our 125th birthday this year. As we were organized in 1896, just 2 years after the Pullman strike, we're proud of our legacy of fighting for economic, racial, and social justice, and we're proud of our history in Chicago and in Pullman. So please, I urge you, as you step into this beautiful national monument, remember the struggle of workers in the 18th and 19th centuries, and take real, concrete steps to support workers of the 21st century, like helping us to pass the Richard L. Trumka PRO Act, and passing statewide here, in the not too distant future, the Workers' Rights Amendment, where we start to take back and protect workers no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, but we protect them because they're one of us. And again, happy Labor Day. Enjoy this tribute to the working class of the city of Chicago, this country, this world, and remember what you can do to lift those workers up every day.
So I've had a request to make sure that everyone understands that Pullman National Monument is not just the clock tower building. The boundary of the monument extends all the way from 103rd Street on the north to 115th on the south, and from the Norfolk Southern tracks on the east over to Cottage Grove on the west. And it encompasses a very vibrant, diverse, resilient community of private landowners and renters. It's a very vibrant community that is included in the monument. We're not just a building. So, okay, let's see here. It is now my pleasure to introduce someone that I know does not need an introduction to any of you, City of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
I think it's still morning, so good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Happy Labor Day, and for those who are paying attention at home, this is also my beloved mother's 93rd birthday, so it's a special day for me as well. On behalf of the great city of Chicago and the communities of Pullman and Roseland, it's my great pleasure to welcome you here today. As you'll hear more about, this incredible community has long been at the crossroads of the labor movement here in the United States. 141 years ago, Pullman became the nation's first industrial planned community, also home to America's first all-black labor union. And if you go into the exhibit, what you're going to see is a very diverse workforce, which at the time was highly unusual. This community helped put Chicago and Illinois on the map as industrial age powerhouses and served as a backdrop for the historic strike that would reignite labor and civil rights movements across the country, rally people against workplace exploitation, and lead to Labor Day becoming a federal holiday. We owe it to the Pullman community and our entire nation to not only preserve this important history, but uplift this neighborhood to its rightful place in our city's cultural and economic life. Cutting the ribbon to this new visitor center for the Pullman National Historic Site, which is Chicago's only national park, will help us do just that, as you've already heard, by attracting visitors from near and far. This builds on our ongoing city initiatives, such as Invest Southwest, our $750 million economic investment engine, and restore the social economic vibrancy of neighborhoods like Pullman, which was once named the ideal city of the world. The rich history of the Pullman strike truly illustrates how critical it is to listen and address the needs of our workers, who make up the backbone of our city and our country. And I think President Reiter clearly underscored the importance of working people to this city, not just historically, but now and into the future. And you heard at the beginning, the superintendent listed a long list of folks, both private donors, elected officials, and others who are responsible for us being here in this day and marking this great milestone in the history of the Pullman community. What you know from that and should take away is it's not just the work of one why we are here. It is the work of many over many years who have been toiling to make sure that we preserve the history for our children to understand the importance of the Pullman community to Chicago and to the United States. You know this, but it bears repeating. The book of American history has many important chapters with Chicago at the forefront. And with the opening of this visitor center, another important chapter in that book is being written. I will also want to say that this investment will redound to the benefit of the Pullman and Roseland communities for generations to come. It's an important investment, but it can't be the only one, and it will not be. We will continue to make sure that we uplift the quality of life of the people in Pullman and also in Roseland. We will never forget the importance of these communities. They're far away at times from what seems like the center of Chicago life, but truly they are at the very beginning. They are important to us, and we've got to continue to make sure that we make those investments. And I believe coming up, thank you. I'm going to steal a little bit of the superintendent's thunder. The next speaker that you're going to hear from is Congresswoman Robin Kelly. We would not be standing here today without the hard work of Robin Kelly to make sure that the investments were made at the federal government level. Sometimes she doesn't get the credit that she deserves, but I want to make sure for all who can hear me in the sound of my voice that we don't forget that Robin Kelly is important to the future of our city and particularly to the South Side. So I think I'm going to invite her up to speak. Is that all right? Congresswoman Kelly.
I didn't pay her to say that either. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, for that introduction, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us on this very joyous day as we celebrate the grand opening of the Pullman National Monument. Alderman Beal likes to say, welcome to the 9th, and I want to say welcome to the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois. I especially want to thank my former colleague, Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland, and my great friend for being here with us today. And we are very lucky because she just got married a week ago and she chose to be with us. It is so fitting that we are gathered here today on Labor Day to celebrate the legacy and impact that the Pullman neighborhood has had on our country. Bob Reiter told all the story about Pullman, so I won't repeat that. But all American workers owe so much to the generation of workers at Pullman and the Pullman Porters. We are especially grateful to the Pullman Porters for their work as some of the early leaders of the civil rights movement. It doesn't seem that long ago, but we were so thrilled when President Obama designated Pullman Chicago's first national monument. The honor of having this national monument right here in this city is a testament not only to the American laborer, but to the many, many residents of Pullman who have worked tirelessly for decades to keep this neighborhood's rich history alive. You know about Lynn Hughes and you know about Mike, and there are many others, but I know you two have worked so hard. Thank you for your early advocacy and vision in reviving this vital resource in our community. In Congress, I'm working with my colleague and my friend, the one and only Dick Durbin, on furthering this neighborhood's rich history by advancing legislation, because we don't want Pullman to just be a monument. We want it to be a national park and raise this community's profile. We want Pullman to be among the national crown jewels. I myself am looking forward to taking tours of the trains, Hotel Florence, and the A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porters Museum, which I've been to many times. I know tourists from across the country and the world will come here and enjoy the powerful history of this neighborhood and the kindness of this community. This monument is and will be an economic driver for our city and for the whole state of Illinois. I am so very proud to represent this wonderful community in Congress, and I look forward to the growth this national monument, and I'm going to say park, will drive for the entire region. To the Pullman community, thank you all so much for your passion, your determination, and your focus. And I'm going to take a point of personal privilege in closing and thanking someone that couldn't be here today, Tanya Cohn, who works for Metra. I know that she was a big part of putting this together. And I want to give my shout out to Terry also for all the work that you have done. And I'll continue to steal your thunder. And with that, I will now turn things over to my friend, my colleague. I always tell him that he may be second in the Senate, but he's first in our hearts, Senator Dick Durbin.
I'm so lucky to have Robin Kelly introducing me. She's such a dear friend, and she played such a key role when it came to the creation of this national monument. She organized the House Democrats and others who joined in that effort, and she is continuing to do that to this day. She mentioned to you that I've introduced legislation in the Senate. She's introduced it in the House to make this a national historic park, and the difference is significant. We want to make sure there's no question about the future of this area and how it's going to grow in cooperation with the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois to really honor the great traditions that we associate with the Pullman Historic Site. You know, when you think about Labor Day, you think about a living wage, don't you? And you think about people who have a safe workplace and children who aren't working in that workplace. You think about a kind of arrangement where people can have a 40-hour work week and have overtime paid and have weekends off. Those are all things we just take for granted. We shouldn't. They started here. They started here in 1894 when the workers finally said, we're standing up and we're going to change things. And as Bob Reiter has told us, they paid a heavy price for that decision. But today, millions and millions of the workers in the United States and around the world are benefiting from that too. And when it came to A. Philip Randolph and the sleeping car porters, they weren't just leaders in the labor movement, the first black union to be recognized in collective bargaining, but they were messengers too. You ever heard of that newspaper called the Chicago Defender? You wonder how it was delivered into the South and around the country in areas where there was a resistance to even deliver it on the regular postal service. The sleeping car porters took them on the trains and they dropped them off all over the South. as part of the beginnings of the civil rights movement. You see, that's what's behind this discussion today. It isn't just a matter of where we were, it's where we want to be. We want to have a more diverse and inclusive society. We want workers, black, white, and brown, men and women, all the people across America, to have an opportunity that was created right here at Pullman. I'm honored to be part of it. I'm honored to join with my good friend Robin in putting together this national park legislation, along with my great colleague, Senator Tammy Duckworth, who is a co-sponsor of that too. I want to make sure you know that. I want to tell you it's my honor to represent a man who, as governor of this state, stood up for his first major piece of legislation was an increase in the minimum wage in Illinois. It tells you where his heart is. Let me welcome the governor of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker.
Well, it is a real honor to get introduced by Dick Durbin. Thank you very much, Dick, and thank you for your kind introduction. And it is true that the first thing that we fought for when I became elected to the governorship was not just raising the minimum wage, but raising the minimum wage to $15, to a living wage for every worker in the state of Illinois. And I'm really thrilled to be able to celebrate Labor Day right here with all of you. The Pullman National Monument is historic, not just for its origins as one of America's first planned industrial communities. You've heard that, and of course, sleeping cars produced here, but even more so for its role, its historic role in the fight to establish collective bargaining rights and the black trade union movement. Overworked and underpaid, Pullman strikers, A. Philip Randolph, put not only their livelihoods, but frankly their lives on the line to fight for a just workplace and fair wages, and were greeted by a horrifically violent retort from the federal government. But I want to remind you all that the first progressive, pro-worker governor of the state of Illinois stood with the workers when the federal government was coming after them, stood up for them, defended them, took this to court to try to keep the federal government from sending troops to Illinois to fight against the workers. Now, the courts overruled the governor, but the Pullman strikers were undaunted. The governor standing with them, they fought. Their legacy of righteousness lives on in the work of union members today, community organizers, civil rights leaders. It's a legacy that this site can impart to its visitors and must, as we all will stand together to send that message across the world. Because economic justice, that's what the message should be of this Pullman site. That's why Illinois has led decades of efforts to preserve and protect Pullman since our purchase of this site 30 years ago. In 2015, we were proud to join forces with the National Park Service as a partner in preservation, transferring the administration building to Park Service ownership and receiving an honorary national monument designation from President Obama. And since that initial partnership not long ago, state and federal agencies have invested millions and millions of dollars into restoration and preservation, transforming the Pullman Palace Car Works grounds, removing contaminated soil, ensuring the site is accessible and enjoyable for visitors of every age and ability. Today, together with the Park Service, Illinois is proud to mark another major milestone in honoring the legacy of the strikers and preserving their world, their struggles, and the stories for America. The opening of the new Pullman National Monument Visitors Center. The creation of this center is about more than just the historic preservation of buildings and grounds at Pullman. It's an investment in the education of the next generation of organizers and business leaders and civic-minded Americans. As families, schools, and historians return to its streets to examine and learn about the past, I hope that they leave inspired to bring people together in their communities, build intersectional movements for justice, and stand up for the rights of workers across the entire nation.
Alex, do you want us from the top or the bottom?
From the top.
Top down.
Okay, I'm gonna count to 3, but first the photographers are gonna want you to look up. Sorry about the mask, but look up, look happy. This is a great day. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, happy Labor Day, everyone. Happy to answer any questions you have. Let's start with on topic first, and then we can move to off topic. Who's first?
All right, members of the media, 2 questions per reporter. Let's start with Shia Coppins, please.
Hey, Shia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Are there numbers that show how beneficial this could be to the city?
You know, I haven't seen any recent studies, but every time that I come down here, and if those of you who have been back and forth here in the last couple years, you see the economic development that's happening, and I think it's really been a tremendous boon for the community. So, you know, we were just talking to the members of the Congress about really pushing forward the park legislation and getting that done. Obviously, that's a big lift, not only legislatively, but there's got to be money and resources put behind it. But I just see that nothing but tremendous upside for this community, and you're already seeing the benefits of it.
On the topic, about the economic benefits, I was just talking to a business owner on Michigan Avenue.
Yeah.
But he feels as though
very different.
This whole thing just stops at Cottage Grove.
I'm sorry?
He thinks this whole thing just stops at Cottage Grove.
Well, and it can't. And it can't. It can't stop at Cottage Grove. Actually, right after I leave here, I'm taking another tour of Roseland and specifically focused on the Michigan Avenue stretch. We cannot let Roseland continue to deteriorate in the way that it is. I'm hoping that we can actually work together with Alderman Beal, but we've got great ambitions for Roseland, and we're going to rally the community behind those.
Does this help, or is this something where tourists just...
I think it helps, but it's not enough. We've got to put specific investments in Michigan Avenue. If you've been down Michigan Avenue from, say, 113th to 119th, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of investments that need to be made. That is why I specifically made that corridor part of the Invest Southwest work. But we've got to move forward. It's the only corridor in Invest Southwest that hasn't announced an RFP. So again, we're looking forward to working with the alderman, but we got to move this forward one way or the other.
So are you and Alderman Beal on different pages for Michigan Avenue?
I don't think we're there yet. I'm hoping that we will get there.
All right, Craig Dellamore.
Hi, Craig.
Hello there. On topic, why do you feel that you haven't been able to get an RFP? Is there not enough organization?
No, I think we've got to continue to work through the challenges. Look, every one of these communities that we go into, you've got to work with the local stakeholders, and we've been doing that, but it's really helpful if we get the alderman on board. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Say it louder so they can hear it.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This way,
Thank you.
Maribel, for Telemundo, are you on topic?
Well, that's all right. Go ahead. We've already gone off topic. Yeah.
For many people, what are the options that Chicago has had, either looking for a job or unemployment benefits?
Well, I think the number one thing is we've got to get people back to work. And what I know from the Hire Chicago initiative, which was 5 weeks of matching up job seekers with employers, is that there are a lot of jobs that are out there. We just got to continue our work to put people together. But I am concerned not only about the end of the unemployment benefits and what happens there, I'm concerned about the potential for a foreclosure and rental crisis as well. So we have been working with stakeholders that really were very much involved in the last foreclosure crisis in 2008, 2009. My team has been working with them for several months now in anticipation of unemployment benefits running out, but also the end to the foreclosure ban. So all of these things I think are interconnected, and we've got to work together to make sure that we understand what the pain points are, that we put resources together, but fundamentally we got to get people back to work. And there's a lot of jobs that employers, good paying jobs, and employers are looking for workers. I mean, you're hard pressed to go to any business in any neighborhood where you're not seeing we are looking for a worker sign of some sort.
Mayor Talia from the Tribune.
How are you?
There were soft topics, but
I'm just going to ask you to speak up a little louder.
this is off topic, but there were at least 10 children and teenagers shot in Chicago already through the long weekend. Do you have any comment on this, and specifically what the city can be doing to prevent that?
Look, it is despairing how many people have been shot in our city. We have made some progress, particularly in the areas, the zones that we focused on over the course of the summer, and we'll be revealing details of that. But fundamentally, we've got to get the guns out of the hands of people who only are thinking about doing chaos in our communities. And we've got to make sure that when we arrest them and we put cases on them, that they're actually held accountable in the criminal justice system. We've put a significant amount of emphasis and pushed our federal partners to really step up and do more because we know that federal sentences are things that the people out there who are wreaking chaos, they actually fear the federal sentences. But we've got to continue to work and push our county partners also to make sure that they do their part. Gangs in the city are a huge problem, and we've got to continue our focus on them and hold them accountable. There should be no gang member in the city of Chicago who has a comfortable night's sleep, because we are coming after them with everything that we've got. We're going to be revealing some other initiatives in the coming days, but we are very focused on making sure that we hold gang members accountable, and that everybody in the ecosystem, not just the Chicago Police Department or the mayor's office, but all of our federal partners and our county partners have to join us in this work. The gangs are one of the biggest challenges that we face when it comes to community safety, and we've got to keep pushing all of us together. It won't work if it's just one part of the ecosystem. Everybody has to be united and focusing on making sure that gang members are held accountable for the damage that they're doing every single day in communities.
Mayor Kate Chappell, NBC5. And Mrs. Lightfoot, happy birthday to Mom.
Thank you.
Well, my question was just about the violence too. I mean, how about the children specifically who seem to increasingly...
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing is that there are people who have guns who have absolutely no regard for the sanctity of life. And unfortunately, our children are becoming victims. We have to rise up in every neighborhood and say enough is enough. It's not, I can't do this work alone. I've got to get people in every neighborhood, those neighborhoods that are under siege. The people in the neighborhoods who are doing the shooting, they are known to people in the neighborhoods. And I understand the fear that's out there, but I'm just calling upon people in these neighborhoods, particularly when we think about the number of children that have been shot. You've got to have your faith overcome your fear. You've got to step up. There's plenty of ways in which reporting can be done about who's doing what in neighborhoods anonymously and with protection. But we've got to have the community support to really stem the tide on this violence. I think we're seeing it, and people are sick and tired, but the focus has got to be on the gangs, and that's what we're focused on.
I was really noisy for a second. I apologize, and you may have mentioned this. Did you say initiatives are coming in the coming days?
Yes.
About the gangs
More.
specifically, and how you
Yes.
target that, or
Yes.
is there more you can say now?
Yes. When we're ready to release it, we'll let you know for sure.
Thank you.
Dane Quagle, Fox.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Mayor. I was at the superintendent's news conference this morning. You made some interesting comments about the issue of children getting shot, saying that families need to be careful and
responsible in some sense about who they let around them. That frequently many of these shootings occur because there are family members or friends who are gang members who might be subject to target of retaliation. And that you need to kind of push away or exclude somebody like that when you have kids present. What do you think about that?
Well, every parent takes care of their children. Every parent does everything that they can to make sure that their kids are safe. But what we're seeing is these indiscriminate shootings, drive-by shootings in many instances, with people who have zero regard for the sanctity of life. And as I said before, for those people, we absolutely cannot provide them with any kind of sanctuary. If we are silent in the face of that kind of violence, all we're doing is encouraging the next shooting. So the community has to rise up and join with law enforcement to identify who these dangerous people are in neighborhoods, who the shooters are, where the guns are. We provided a number of different incentives and ways in which people can report this conduct anonymously and safely. I think there's more that we can do as a city to provide incentives, and we're working to make sure that we roll those things out. But fundamentally, what we see is too many guns in the hands of bad people who have little regard for human life. That's why when the Chicago Police Department works its tail off to identify somebody who is a shooter, we got to hold them accountable. We cannot let them go back into the communities to continue to wreak havoc, because what that does is it says to the victims and to the witnesses, there's no justice for them. The justice system has to be supportive of victims and witnesses and not just accused defendants.
Mayor, last question of the day, Shannon from WBEZ.
We have one right there too. Go ahead.
Any updates on vaccination rate for the Chicago Police Department and your plans for enforcement?
Well, look, we said very clearly, October 15th, every city employee has to be vaccinated. We'll continue to work with organized labor to address their concerns, but my expectation is people will be fully vaccinated by October 15th.
Any updates on the numbers so far in the Chicago?
I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but we can get them to you. Yes, sir.
Tim Fox's office declined to press charges brought by the police department about the 7-year-old girl who was murdered. Can you give us your take on that decision?
Yeah, look, I think that it was a decision that was made both by the police department and the state's attorney's office. It's been reported in a different way, and I don't think that that accurately reflects what actually happened. Look, these cases sometimes are complicated. You get witnesses that you think you've got locked in, and that you base a case around that. I don't want to get into the particulars of this case, but the evidence that we thought was there became much more complicated as we went to the grand jury. The effort hasn't stopped. I can certainly appreciate the frustration of some who are looking at this from the outside, but the reality is, when you accuse somebody of murder, you better have your facts. And we all know that. I know that from my role both as a former prosecutor and as a defense attorney. The work involving that case continues, and it's my hope that we will be bringing charges that will stick.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
What did you say, and what are you going to say to Alderman Gardner about his use of the B word?
I'm sorry, say again.
What did you say, or what are you going to say to Alderman Gardner about the use of the B word?
Well, look, I talked to Alderman Gardner, and I told him he had to apologize. That's basic. And I'm very concerned about the language that was used. Women take way too much abuse in public, in the workplace, and otherwise. I know that firsthand, and it's not acceptable. And I think he understands that. I need him to make sure that he is very public about the fact not only that he's apologizing, but some of the words that were used are words that should never be used in public or private. But what I'll also say that one of the other things I think that hasn't been really reported on in the incident is there's a suggestion that somebody's going to be deprived of city services because of who they supported or didn't support in an election. That's never, ever acceptable. You know, in elections, people vote their conscience. They vote how they believe and what's in their best interest. But once an election is over, as a representative, me as mayor, alderman as alderman, you represent the entire people within your geography. And no one can ever be deprived of access to city services simply because they voted for somebody else. That's just not acceptable. All right, thank you all. Happy Labor Day. Thank you.